everyone, Helen here from Helen Kirkham Crafts, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a faux bookbinding card using Paper Chain Chapter 3 from Stamps by Me. First of all, you do get some beautiful stamps within this collection, so I'm going to take one of those stamps, which is the single rose. I'm going to use my Eureka Mini and I'm going to stamp that out. Now, I love using a stamping platform like the Eureka because it just makes it a little bit easier for me if I need to re-stamp because I haven't got enough ink or anything like that, which I wouldn't be able to do with my block, as I find that just a little bit too difficult. Then for some of the stamps, you do get coordinating dies. So I'm just going to lay the die over the top, use a little bit of low-tack tape to hold it in place, and I'm going to send it through my die cutting machine. Now, all of the dies that come with this collection go through your smaller die cutting machines, which is your A6, like the Stamps by Me one here, but obviously they'll go through your larger ones as well, but they do go through those smaller die cutting machines if that's the one you have. So once it's cut out, we can just remove the waste and take our image from the die. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of colour. Now, I like this technique because it's a very subtle look and it makes use of sort of inks and things that you've already got in your stash. So I take a green and a pink from my stash. These are Stamps by Me inks. I take a Stamps by Me little brush as well, the mini brushes, dab some of it off on the lid. So I've got it there to reuse if I want to, but I don't want to put too much ink down straight away. And I just add a very subtle look of green. And then I repeat the process with the pink. But what I do is I go sort of darker at the bottom and fade out to the top of the flower just to give that flower a little bit of depth and dimension. And like I say, because I've blotted out onto the ink cartridge on the ink pad lid, I can use that at a later date if I just need a little bit of ink too. I don't need to waste any of that. So I've done that with 3 of them and created 3 beautiful roses from the collection. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to take a folded card from Stamps by Me and I'm going to score it. I've put all the measurements for all the papers and the score, where you're going to score on that top foiled card in the description below. So I've scored that down and then I'm going to add my glue, my roller tape, just to the little part that I'd scored. And we're going to actually lay the ribbon over. And this is going to create our book binder. So I've stuck my ribbon inside the card, and then what we've done is created a sort of faux bookbinding by using that glue to seal the side of that card. Then I've also cut some of the paper and some white card, the paper that you get in the collection and white card. Again, the measurements are in the description below. And then I've done the same with another sheet of the paper in that sort of metallic pink you get in the collection. And again, what I've done is taken some of the blue and I've done that again. Again, the measurements are all in the description below. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my trimmer and I'm just going to cut one of these in half. So take the top left corner to the bottom right corner and just literally cut it in half from corner to corner. Obviously, you're only going to use one of these pieces, so that other piece can be used for another project or if you wanted to repeat this for multiple cards. Again, I'm going to bring in the larger blue. I'm going to go from corner to corner, this time right corner, top right corner to bottom left corner, and cut it in half on the diagonal. Again, we're only going to use one side, so that other one is free for another project or if you're repeating this card. And then I'm going to glue that larger piece to the pink metallic card. I'm using wet glue here just so I've got a bit of wiggle room, time to kind of line up the corners so that they match and we don't get to see any of that pink on the blue side that we don't want to see. And then I'm going to bring in the white. Now, I love putting white card between layers of coloured card because I think it just breaks it up slightly. It doesn't need to be particularly thick line. It just breaks up those colours from the blue and pink to the blue, just having a bit of white card in the middle. I think it's just a bit easier on the eyes for you when you're looking at it as a card. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the process for the thinner part of our bookbinding front cover. So we are going to glue the sort of triangular shape, if you will, to the pink. Again, using that wet glue, so I've got a little bit of wiggle room to match it up. And again, like I say, I'm going to bring in that white and that blue, and I'm going to mat and layer all of those together. Just again with that white, just to break up the colour which I think looks so pretty on cards when you've got the mats and layers with that white or maybe a black or a pale colour just to break up the patterned papers. Now, once I've stuck those together, we're going to start creating other elements for our card. So you can see here we've got the two front pieces that are going to be stuck on the front of our bookbinding. So this thinner one will go on the left side of the score line, and the thicker one will go on the right side of the score line. Now, what I want to make sure is I've got a little bit of extra room on the left-hand side of that bigger piece, just so that when I open the bookbinding, it won't get caught with any of the toppers or anything. So we just layer that so that 3 of the sides of the bigger one are identical in distance, but you've got that little bit of extra space on that left-hand side. And again, I'm using my wet glue, so I've got time to wiggle those square and rectangle into place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create our topper. So I've got a piece of smooth white card and a die that I've got from Stamps by Me, and we're going to die cut a circle. And then what I'm going to do, once I've die cut my circle, I'm actually going to send it through the embossing folder that you get with the collection. It says love, 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 love. And I always think it's really wonderful doing die cut shapes and sending them through embossing folders. Just gives it a little different idea. So maybe next time you use an embossing folder, do a heart or a circle or a smaller square, and just have a piece of that embossing folder on your die cut circle, square, or whatever. It just gives it a really interesting look. Now, this die embossing folder that you get in the collection is a really deep emboss, really beautiful, looks so stunning with the love, 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 and works beautifully with Paper Chain Chapter 3. So you can see there, both sides, the emboss and deboss, look really stunning. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with a little bit of that pink ink again and just bring that embossing folder a little bit out by just dusting the top with a ink brush. Doesn't need to be a really deep ink, just a little bit of a light colour, just to draw some of the pink that we're going to see on the ribbon and on the roses, and sort of draw those all together. So I'm going to glue down my circle onto the front of the card with, again, that wet glue, and then I'm going to bring in those 2 roses and sort of have them on the sides. Remember, we've got that third one as well, that's going to be used later. So there we go, we're going to glue those down on a foam pad just so they're slightly built up. But again, popping that pink on, that subtle pink on the top of the embossing folder really brings those two together. Then I'm going to use my mini Eureka again, and I'm going to stamp out one of the sentiments that you get with the collection. You get several sentiments that work beautifully for many different occasions. Really wonderful. And I've just got some black Stamps by Me ink to stamp that out. And again, like I say, I'm using my mini Eureka just in case I needed to repeat stamp if I'd missed a piece or anything. But as you can see, it's stamped out perfectly fine. And then again, just using some foam pads, I'm going to pop that over part of the roses. So we've now got our beautiful sentiment, let's celebrate. And now what we want to do, I'm going to use some red liner tape just for the top of the ribbon that we've got coming out of the card, just to hold that bit in place. I don't need to worry about the bottom because we're going to be sort of tying the bow lower, but I just like to be that top to be completely smoothed down to the center of our card. And then we're going to tie our ribbon. Ribbon tying is a really tricky process actually, so don't panic if it ties to the side or the top. Don't worry, go with however the bow ties, because I don't want you to panic about it being a certain way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that third rose, add a little bit of wet glue to it, but I'm going to use some scrap paper just to kind of get a little bit of that glue all over in a thin layer, but also remove a little bit of it, because we don't want glitter all over the rose. We just want a sprinkling of it over the bud a little bit. So you can see there I've just popped some glitter on into a folded piece of card so I can pop all that excess back in the pot and not waste any. And then we're just going to pop our little rose into the center of the bow. Now you could put a little bit of wet glue at the back just to hold it in place. But there we go. There we have our faux bookbinding card using the new collection from Paper Chain Chapter 3. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that useful. Please like and subscribe because I will be doing more videos with the future collections of Paper Chain that are coming from Stamps by Me very soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.